Hello. I recorded a very interesting ROM hack before this, or at least I thought I did. The majority of the footage was corrupted, rendering it pretty much useless. So that was really fun. But worry not, I have returned with another ROM hack, Pokémon Rising Ruby. This is a hack by Drayano. You might know him as the creator of Storm Silver and Renegade Platinum. Now, I was never one to play these ROM hacks with higher difficulties, so I figured I'd give it a try. I won't be doing a Nuzlocke here, this is more of a feeling out process for what kind of challenges I'll face in Drayano's hacks. Pokémon Rising Ruby is a Pokémon Omega Ruby ROM hack where it allows you to play through the main game with all 721 Pokémon obtainable. The Pokémon League is also significantly stronger, as well as trainer battles. And boy did I struggle with the number of battles. Definitely caught me by surprise for the most part. There's not a lot of videos covering the 3DS ROM hacks, so I thought this will be a nice change of pace. But enough of this intro, let's get right into the video. We start the game with a message from Drayano himself, but most of the game's events remain unchanged. Some of the scripts were edited, but they're mostly not enough to significantly alter the game's story. We are stupid again this time around, witnessing the ever-unchanging scenery of the Hoenn region. Neighbor gets her 5 seconds of fame, and we were off to begin our epic adventure that stretches to the ends of the earth. Quite literally if you count the Delta episode. Neighbor's dad was chased around by a Poochyena, and to stay true to the Stone Evolution's theme of this video, we picked a Torchic as a throwaway Pokemon, and is it just me or was this Poochyena really tough? We headed north to Route 103 and initiated the first rival fight. Even this Mudkip is stronger to begin with. After almost losing the first rival fight, we wrapped up most of the tutorial and went back to Route 103 to capture our official starter, this male Nidoran. There weren't any special rules I imposed on this run, I figured I could build a team as I went along. The Nidoran line always had a special place in my heart, so I was happy it was available quite early on. In any case, Kingbo joined us on our journey to conquer Hoenn. A more difficult version of Hoenn, I guess. The difficulty spike was introduced early on, as early as our first trainer battle at Route 102. The shorts-wearing youngster had a team of Bunnelby, Sentret, and Zigzagoon. And he wasn't just a chump with a regionally diverse team, no, he was pretty annoying to battle as well. Thankfully, Kingbo learned Double Kick by the time we got to the Zigzagoon, so at least we didn't wipe to the very first trainer battle. We'd wipe soon after that though, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Adding to our team right after that was Shiftbo the Seedot and Kolobo the Lotad. Then, it was the standard Hoenn remake sequences, Beautiflies, Dad humiliating a kid, and the infamous Wally sequence. I'm not going to make fun of Wally as much in this episode, you'll see why in a good bit. Trust me, but he's still a piece of shit. We made our way to Petalburg Woods and fought the first Team Magma encounter, where this grunt was already showing a more diverse selection of Pokemon, having a Numel in his team. The Devon researcher gave us the experience share, which I think I completely forgot to turn off. This goes against what Drayano put in the description of the ROM hack, where he stated that this hack was supposed to be played without the XP share turned on to achieve the most optimal experience. I would come to realize this later on, but seemingly all the EXP share did was shorten the length of time I would have spent grinding for levels. In any case, we caught a Pansear in the woods, naming it Searbo. I don't think I have footage of its nature and summary, but I recall it was quite lackluster, causing its eventual sacking from the team. North of the woods, we ran into what would be a quite valuable team member, Togebo the Togepi. Due to the forgotten EXP share that was left on the whole time, the two grass types in the team evolved at the same time. After this dual evolution, we got ourselves a Nuzleaf and Lombre. You would think that with both these grass types, I would have had a pretty easy time at Roxanne. Well, you could not be more wrong. I was caught quite off guard by the fact that even with Roxanne, gym leaders all have a full team of 6 Pokemon. Kolobo was barely able to take out Roxanne's opening Pokemon, an Archon. When Roxanne sent out her Anorith, I was spamming B, so I accidentally kept Kolobo on. I owned up to the mistake and allowed Kolobo to faint. Kingbo was up next, and it just turned into a double kick spam. Roxanne sent out her Nosepass, and Shiftbo had a jolly good time spamming Bullet Seed. Even with the type advantage, we couldn't help tanking a lot of damage. The subsequent Omanyte had a terrible type matchup, so it died pretty quickly. The next Pokemon was a Tyrant, and more Bullet Seeds were fired. Shiftbo miraculously survived with 1 HP, and we switched to Kingbo for the Lileep. Kingbo was able to get through the battle with Poison Tails despite taking more damage. With the fall of our Lileep, we were able to conquer the first gym, obtaining the Stone Badge. It was quite the difficulty spike that we went through, but somehow it hasn't really dawned on me yet at that time. I continued to play as though this wasn't a Drayano hack. After witnessing Togebo's evolution into a Togetic, we threw ourselves at the beginning of the Team Magma conflict, which would eventually engulf the whole of Hoenn. We beat the grunt over at the cave and captured the Growlithe just east of Rustboro, naming it Nimebo. We were invited to President Stone's office, where we were given a piece of new tech and an errand that came with it. With the ride we got from Pico Man, we successfully infiltrated Dewford and began our quest to conquer the gym. But before that, we were able to capture a Staryu, naming it Meebo. Brawly was, well, a bit easier than I anticipated really. Togebo was able to practically sweep all of Brawly's team with little to no difficulty. We were exposed to some good old Hoenn lore and met President Stone's son. Must be nice to grow up in comfort. Finally, after arriving in Slateport, I read the game manual again and realized that the EXP share was supposed to be off this whole time, so I turned it off. I then mentally prepared myself for the long grind in between gyms. This magma coughing absolutely obliterated Meebo while we delivered the package for Captain Stern, and we met Team Magma's leader for the first time. He's pretty sharp. Lizia caught us before we left Slateport, but little did she know that we would be trying our best to ignore her for the rest of the game. Well, trying our best is a bit strong, we made no effort to come see her again. Rival fight time, and Togebo was up first. Togebo took out the Swallow with Ancient Power, Kolobo took out the Marshtomp with a Mega Drain, and Nimebo finished off the following Shroomish. Shroomish, that's a mouthful for me. May's last Pokemon, Ponyta, was actually able to take out Meebo, much to my surprise, but Kingbo had it all under control. Upon arriving in Mauville, I figured it was a good time to just walk up to Wally and get this battle over with. Yeah, that didn't go so well. It was for this reason that I didn't want to make fun of Wally again until I could beat him in a battle decisively. I just didn't know his team composition. Yeah, sure, lack of information, right? We then grinded for a Moonstone in the Super Training segment, which took a long while. I don't know if Drayano altered the odds of getting the stones, but it felt like the odds of getting the stones were decreased. But I might be wrong since I got 7 Sunstones in a row. But we finally got one, so Kingbo was finally able to evolve into an Nidoking. While facing Watson, who led with an Electrode, Kingbo was able to take it out with a Bulldoze. Next was his Luxio, who faced a similar fate. Watson sent out his Flaffy next, which prompted a switch to Shiftbow from my side. Not sure what was going on here, but we wasted turns battling this Flaffy, which ended up switching by performing a Volt Switch. The Magneton was able to down Nimebo with a Volt Switch, switching back to Flaffy meanwhile. I finally came to my senses and sent out Kingbo, which was able to down the Flaffy and Magneton. Not long after, Shiftbow spammed Feint attacks to take care of the Rotom. Third badge down, and I opened Rising Ruby's Game Changes file to better anticipate enemy teams down the road. Not always though. May gave us the Strength HM, explored some holo trees with Arauni, and witnessed Professor Cosmo being taken by Team Magma. Even the battle to save Professor Cosmo was a lot tougher than I thought it would be. They had mainly Pokemon in the second stage of evolution, making this battle a lot longer than usual. We were able to save the Professor in the end though, despite him going into complete shock. We also met this hunk of a man, Archie. We grinded for a Water Stone with Super Training again, and evolved Meebo into a Starmie. A good chunk of minutes was spent grinding, then we made our way up Mount Chimney to face off with Maxie. Maxie's leading Pokemon, Golbat, was no trouble at all. Meebo's Psychic was more than able to take it out. The Lampent somehow survived Meebo's Brine and one-shot at Meebo. Kolobo used Mega Drain. I really didn't think Maxie would heal here, but would finally be able to down the Lampent. Kolobo suffered a burn against the Houndoom, but he valiantly took down the Houndoom before suffering some more. Maxie's Pupitar fell victim to Kingbo's Bulldoze, but his camera proved to be a lot tougher. Through a very fortunate missed attack, Togebo was able to down the Camerupt. Maxie bragged about Mega Evolution, before being interrupted by his goons over comms. Archie approached us and talked about some orbs, but we really just wanted to go to Lava Ridge to challenge Flannery. After obtaining the Shiny Stone, we evolved Togebo into his final form, a Togekiss. We went to Flannery after fighting some quite challenging trainer battles and opened the battle with the newly evolved Togebo. With 2 ancient powers, Togebo made quick work of the Ninetales. Came the Houndoom. Togebo made a last-ditch effort to damage the Houndoom and fell in battle. Meebo came next and mopped up the Fire Pupper, and for the Delphox I kind of just left Kolobo and Shiftbow to tank overheats and die. It's quite refreshing to play with non-Nuzlocke rules. I wanted to decrease the Fox's special attack stat before taking it down with the newly revived Togebo. Togebo did faint again, but the rest of the battle was just Meebo attacking with Brine and Power Gems. It was a rather long fight, but we gained the 5th badge. May caught us in an ambush just outside the gym, and we accepted her offer to go to Petalburg together. In preparation for the battle with Daddy-O, we evolved Nimebo into an Arcanine and caught this Pichu back at Petalburg Woods. After a tad bit of grinding, Chubo evolved into a Pikachu, and Shiftbow evolved into a Shiftry. Good times. Time for the battle with Daddy-O. I led with Nimebo, and to be honest, he was actually getting roughed up by Daddy-O's Ambipom. But he landed a lucky critical hit and one shot at the monkey. I sent out Shiftbow for the slacking, but that was a big mistake. Shiftbo died very quickly and Kingbo was up next. The Slacking tried its best with Retaliate, but Kingbo's Rock Smashes proved to be too much for the bigger Monkey. The oversized Poison Rabbit won this exchange. Daddy-O's X-Cloud was up, and Kingbo was only able to pull off one Rock Smash before kicking the bucket. Togebo came out and avenged Kingbo with a Draining Kiss. Next was the Staraptor, which fell immediately to an Ancient Power. The Bouffalant was taken care of by Draining Kisses, and the Saucebuck with an Air Cutter crit. We bested Daddy-O and gained yet another badge. Unfortunately, we had to travel back to Mauville with Wally. Yeah. A handful of you were quite upset that I always trash Wally in my own videos, but I'm sorry, it's the channel tradition. Flip off, Wally. Ah, it's President Stone's son, and Latias. We teamed up with the President's son against Team Magma over the ownership of this Latios and had a fairly manageable battle. The President's son's steel Pokemon didn't have a good time though. The Latios forcefully joined our team, so we named it Osbo. Not going to use it though, not a stone evolution. Our Chubo, on the other hand, is a stone evolution. He evolved into a Raichu through the means of a Thunderstone. We made our way all the way to the Weather Institute and found ourselves in a battle with Admin Tabitha. This battle was long. I was quite unprepared level-wise, and at the stage of the game's AI plays similar to if we were fighting at the Battle Tower's 100th battle streak. Many switches later, we were able to beat this blasted admin and rejected the cast form the Institute people tried to force on us. Soon after, we found ourselves in yet another rival fight. I'll gloss over this one since it wasn't really difficult, but wait for the next one. The President's son was somehow impressed that we ran away from this Kecleon and we shooed the one hiding near the gym. We went on to challenge the next gym and I found it quite underwhelming. Chubo was able to stack one nasty plot and took care of the Skarmory and the following Gyarados. The Talonflame outsped Chubo, so unfortunately a Brave Bird took out our mouse. Togebo came out next and he was just an absolute unit. None of Winona's remaining Pokemon was able to hold a candle next to Togebo. 6th badge obtained. Here comes that May fight I mentioned. So, Chubo got blasted by this facade spamming Poison Orb holding Swellow to begin with, but thankfully Togebo was able to one-shot it with Ancient Power. I made the mistake of sending out Kingbo too early and really should have switched out or healed. While May's Raichu was taken out by Nimebo and the following Rapidash taken out by Meebo, this blasted Sylveon was the bane of my existence. I had forgotten just how tanky this Pokemon is, with the addition of forgetting Fairy types are strong against Dark types. Nice. Togebo was my last resort, and fortunately was able to gain some health back with Draining Kisses. I used Togebo's last turn to revive Shiftbo, and ended the battle. I really almost lost this one. I guess it really shows that I haven't played Pokemon much. Over at Mount Pyre, the Courtney battle was probably the easiest out of the recent ones. Meebo and Chubo really had no trouble sweeping her team. We witnessed some thievery shenanigans and were given the other remaining orb, the blue one. We battled Courtney again at the hideout, but the only difference was that she had more team members. It made no discernible difference, as we only needed Meebo this time to sweep her team. The submarines scurried off, and we made our way to Mossdeep City. Here we go, the Tate and Liza battle. This was actually quite hard. I think I wiped twice to this battle. I probably shouldn't have deleted the recording where I lost. I could have showed you guys where I really struggled. Tate and Liza led with Lunatone and Solrock, and we led with Chubo and Meebo. We focused on the Solrock first with Grass Knot and Surf, and thankfully it was Lunatone who used Protect. Next, we focused on the Lunatone and successfully took it out as well, at the price of Meebo getting taken down by the Gallade. I decided to sack Chubo next as we take out the Gallade, but we were really lucky with the damage roll, seeing as Chubo survived. I made an extremely silly switch here, forgetting that the Bronzong could use Earthquake. With Shiftbo and Nimebo on the field, we were able to take out the Slowking with a Leaf Blade, and Nimebo survived the next Earthquake. Nimebo took out the Bronzong with a Flamethrower, and died to the Gardevoir's Psychic. Tate and Liza tried to prolong the Gardevoir's life, but we were proving to be a bit too much for them. We got the 7th badge and had the region to save. This guy had some green light shot at it, and we were invited to the President's son's house, where he gave us a scuba gear and the Dive HM. At the seafloor cavern, we would face Maxie for the final time. Maxie led with his Crobat, which was taken care of quite easily by Meebo's Sidekick. Maxie sent out his Houndoom next, and I thought Kingbo could handle it. He clearly couldn't. Togebo had to finish the job for him. Shiftbo was up next against the Tyranitar, and got lucky as the Tyranitar missed his Blizzard. Chubo managed to force a victory against the Chandelure, and Shiftbo died to the Claydol. Great. Thankfully, we still had Meebo, who had the type advantage against the Claydol and the following Camerupt. Maxie, despite everyone else's warning, went ahead and awakened Groudon, who went rawr. Things then started to take a turn for the worse, and everything just turned dramatic. Don't get me started on the scene again. Groudon went primal and went rawr again. He was quickly Master Balled though. We gave it the most fitting of names, Donbo. The president's son was impressed again. We never disappoint. Nevertheless, it was now time to impress Wallace. Shiftbow opened the battle and quickly disposed of the Politoed with ease. The Ludicolo proved to be a lot tougher, as Togebo tried to one-shot it to no avail. After the heal, I switched to Meebo anticipating a Hydro Pump, and rightly enough, Meebo survived. One Psychic later, the Ludicolo was down. I used the time to heal Togebo, as Meebo was fried with a Thunder. Chubo exacted sweet revenge on Wallace's Starmie, ending it with a Thunderbolt. The Kingdra didn't stand a chance against Togebo's Kiss, and Wallace's Melodic wasn't able to take down Chubo before being electrocuted. The last Pokemon, Wallace's Swampert, proved to be a poor matchup for Shiftbow. And that's it. We got all the badges, ready to venture on to the Evergrande City. The path to the Pokemon League was hard and arduous. Victory Road was extremely tough. All the trainers in there have the potential to end your team at any given time if you go in unprepared. And that almost happened to me a couple of times. I never had to buy more healing items in all my time playing Pokemon. But at last, we reached the end of the cave only to find Wally waiting to sucker punch us. Well, not really, but he really wanted to battle. He led with Roserade, and we sent out Meebo first. Surely enough, Meebo outsped the Roserade, but failed to take it out. Here, failure meant death. Nimbo came out next, finishing Meebo's mistake. Wally sent out a Garchomp next, but Togebo was too good, a Draining Kiss finished it. Nimbo was back out for Wally's Magnezone, and we got lucky with the burn at the end here. Shiftbow took out the Azumarill, followed by Chubo ending the Talonflame. So far so good. I decided to keep Chubo on to whittle the Galate's health for a bit, managing to pull off one Thunderbolt. Togebo would then kiss the gallant Pokemon to death. Ha! This battle went on a lot better than the previous one. Suck it, Wally, keep your Dawnstone. Then, it was finally time for the final set of battles, the Pokemon League Challenge. I didn't bother revamping my team, I really wanted to finish the game with these 6 Pokemon. So we went in, ready to face our first challenge of the Elite Four, Sydney. Sydney opened with his Weavile, and we sent out Nimbo. Nothing too fancy here, Nimbo tanked a low kick and ended the Weavile with a Flamethrower. I switched to Kingbo for the Scrafty, and ended up repeatedly using Brick Breaks, ending the Scrafty. Chubo was next for the Greninja, and it was a simple finish with a Thunderbolt. Meebo was up for the Tyranitar, but the Surf couldn't end the Rock type immediately, resulting in Meebo's end via Crunch. We sent out Shiftbow next and ended the Tyranitar with a Leaf Blade. Nimbo was next for the Bisharp, but of course it had a Focus Sash. Of course. I didn't anticipate the heal from Sydney, hence the Shiftbow switch, but Kingbo was able to end the Bisharp. The last Pokemon, Absol, was in turn finished by Togebo after defeating Kingbo. That could have gone a lot worse actually. Next was Phoebe, who opened with a Mismagius. I opened with Chubo, but it was just the wrong move from the get-go. Chubo wasn't able to finish his opponent before dying, and I sent in Shiftbow to set up some sword dances, but I really forgot about the Moonblast. This was just some idiotic play. With the help of a healing item, we were finally able to down the Mismagius with Nimbo and dealt acceptable damage to the Dusknoir. We switched to Kingbo, who tanked sizable damage before finishing the Dusknoir. Nimbo was back out for the Gourgeist, almost kicking the bucket himself, but the Flamethrowers got the job done. Next was Meebo, who outsped the Glass Cannon Gengar. Phoebe's Chandelier came out for less than 1 minute, and it was finally time for the Sableye. Meebo was unfortunately hit with a crit, but Kingbo the champ went out and avenged Meebo with an Earthquake. 2 down, 2 to go. Glacia was next, who opened with Aurorus. Togebo was the first one up, who was able to tank 1 Blizzard while dishing out damage with Ancient Powers. Glacia sent out her Frostlass, who posed no threat at all to Nimbo. Not sure why I kept Nimbo on here, but he died real quick. Real quick. Glacia switched out the Mamoswine after we sent out Togebo, so we pretty much healed with Draining Kisses, ending Glacia's Jinx. Chubo survived the Walreign's Earthquake, but died anyway to the hail. Kingbo was so close to ending the Walrein with Brick Breaks, but no dice, Glacia went for a heal. I took the chance to revive Nimbo, ultimately letting Kingbo die. Chubo went back out for round 2, and finished the Walrein this time. Next, Chubo was so close to finishing the Mamoswine with a Focus Blast, but no dice again. Togebo had to be the one to finish the job. Togebo dealt decent damage to the Glalie, but we had to finish it up with Meebo. Glacia was actually pretty tough. And here we have Drake, the Dragon-type master. I really thought this would be harder, but we have Dragon Killer Togebo with us, so it was a breeze. This was a huge breather, one that I really welcomed. It really felt like the normal Pokemon games again. At last, the President's Son. This battle was honestly manageable, as you see Chubo down on the screen here. The only tricky part was really getting past the Diancie, which always comes out after the President's Son's Claydol stacks Light Screen and Reflect. Because of that, the Diancie always ended up being really tanky, and once we get to the Metagross, it always hits like a truck. In total, I wiped about 3 times before coming up with a suitable strategy. Here we go. Chubo was always up first, back with the triple thunderbolts, easy enough. Chubo couldn't hit his focus blast, but that was quite alright. Meebo's turn. Meebo surfed the Aggron to death, but failed to take out the Aerodactyl. The fossil bird ended up killing itself with Brave Bird, so it was all good. Shiftbo took the time to stack 2 sword dances, and had a field day ending the Claydol and Deoncé. Now, the Metagross, and here was my trick. I had to force the Metagross to use Hammer Arm first, so that it would have its speed decreased. That way, after Shiftbo went down, almost all the Pokemon in my team would always be faster. Kingbo couldn't finish the Metagross with an Earthquake, but Ninebush sure could with a Flamethrower. And we finally beat Pokemon Rising Ruby with only Stone Evolutions, a much harder ROM hack than I thought it would be. After finishing this, I really don't think I would do a Nuzlocke of this in the near future. I barely had time to make this video. I wouldn't think I'll have time to prepare and grind for this. Maybe I could stream it someday. However, let's not forget the May fight after the credits, but it wasn't really that much different than the last one we had. This Sylveon was still a pain in my ass though. As Shiftbo ends May's Swampert, I just want to thank you guys for watching the video, and as always, take care.